Hello everyone! Today we're gonna make a French brioche. Classic French brioche is normally described as a golden and light bread that is so rich and so delicate with such a wonderful buttery taste. I was actually not very interested in these breads as I was always afraid that it could be too rich for me due to the large amount of butter in the dough, which can go up to 65% of the total amount of flour. But then I realized that I was totally wrong, and that time was when I tried the brioche that was made in my baking class in Le Cordon Bleu Paris. The flavors were so amazing that I even couldn't imagine that it can be made at home. And now brioche is one of the most favorite breads in my kitchen. The bread is so nice itself that it can be eaten just plain, but today I'm going to show you a little bit more interesting version of brioche with some almonds and honey and lemon glaze on top. So these are the ingredients for brioche. As you can see, they are all very simple and classic, just flour, eggs and butter, and no milk or water is needed. First, add into your mixing bowl the bread flour, sugar and salt, and mix well. Then add the instant yeast and mix everything well again. Make a well in the middle of the flour mixture, then add in all of the eggs. And to have some more flavors, I use some bergamot extract together with vanilla. This combination gives the bread a both sweet and tangy flavor, which is both elegant and sexy at the same time. Start beating at low speed for about 3 to 4 minutes until all of the ingredients are incorporated and gather into one ball of dough. You may ask if we can knead the dough by hand. The answer is yes, but I don't recommend it. Brioche dough is quite wet and sticky, which is very hard to be handled, and there's also another reason, but I will explain it later in the next stage when we add in the butter. So when all of the ingredients are incorporated, we can raise the speed to medium and continue kneading for 5 to 7 minutes depending on the power of your mixer. We want the dough to turn into a smooth dough which is quite elastic and can pull away from the side of the bowl like this. Also, the temperature inside the dough should be between 26 and 27 degrees Celsius. And this is a moment when we can start to add in the butter. Add all the butter into the bowl and note that the butter has been softened but not melted. Knead at low speed. You may want to use a spatula or a spoon to scrape the side of the bowl and help the butter to be incorporated in the dough. So this is the other reason why it's not recommended to knead brioche dough by hand. Due to the large amount of butter, the dough can be very wet and messy to be handled by hands. Also, the heat from your hands may make the butter melted, which will weaken and harm the gluten strands in the dough. When the butter is all incorporated into the dough, we can raise the speed to medium and continue kneading for about 3 to 5 minutes. We stop kneading right when the dough appears to have a smooth and shiny surface as shown in the video. And note that don't knead the dough too much because it will create a lot of difficulties for us when we shape the dough later on. Wrap the dough in a piece of parchment paper, then let it rest at room temperature, which is between 18 and 22 or 23 degrees Celsius for about 30 minutes. Then put the dough into the fridge for the first proof at 2 to 4 degrees Celsius. This proofing should take between 12 and 14 hours. And after 12 hours, we can take the dough out of the fridge. As we can see on the video, the dough has risen a little bit, but since there's a lot of butter inside, it's very firm now. To prepare for the shaping stage, we scale and divide the dough into 3 pieces, then cover all of them with plastic wrap and put them back into the fridge. Let them relax there for another 20 minutes. Before shaping the dough, cover your hands with some flour. This helps to prevent the dough stick to your hands. Then shape the dough into a loaf and roll it into a long stick which is about 35 to 40 centimeters long. One important note here is that we don't want the butter to melt while we are shaping the dough, so try to do this as quickly as possible. Also, the room temperature should be below 24 degrees Celsius because otherwise the butter in the dough will melt very fast. If the butter melts and the dough sticks to our hand, we can cover the dough with plastic wrap and then put it back into the fridge. Meanwhile, we can continue to work on the next piece of dough. So we do the same with all the 3 pieces of dough, and when we finished, come back to the first piece and roll it into a longer stick, which is about 60 centimeters long. This way of shaping gives the dough some time to relax in between so that it will not shrink when we roll. This also explains why we shouldn't knead the dough too much, because in that case, the gluten's will be very strong and elastic and it will be very difficult for us to roll the dough here. So when all of the dough is ready, we can start to braid them. The technique is very simple here. First I take the left one and then I put it into the middle. Then I take the right one, put it into the middle of the other 2 and repeat with the left and the right. Put the braid onto a baking sheet and connect the 2 ends of the braid to have a closed circle. The dough might not look perfectly smooth, particularly at the point where the 2 ends of the braid meet. However, this is not a problem because anyway the topping with almonds will help to hide it away. So for the second rise, I use a large box to cover the bread so that the surface of the bread will not get dry. Then I let the dough proof until it's doubled in size. The temperature for proofing should be between 20 to 24 degrees and shouldn't be hotter because otherwise the butter will melt. When the second proof has already finished, we preheat the oven to 170 degrees Celsius. Gently apply the egg wash onto the brioche and then put some almonds on top. Bake the brioche at 170 degrees Celsius in about 20 minutes, then at 160 degrees in 10 to 15 minutes until the bread is golden brown and your kitchen is full of the wonderful buttery smell. If the bread turns dark too fast, you can cover it with a piece of aluminum foil like I do in the video. When the bread is done, take it out of the oven and let it cool down on a rack. Meanwhile, we prepare the icing glaze by mixing all of the ingredients including the icing sugar, honey, and lemon juice in a bowl. When the brioche has cooled down, use a spoon to pour the honey and lemon glaze over it. This brioche is best to enjoy on the day it's baked. However, you can wrap it with plastic wrap and eat it during 2 days. If you cannot eat all of them up in 2 days and it gets dry, don't throw it away because it will become a perfect ingredient for the pudding bread.